Welcome to this ICF Slalom podcast episode, part of the series running until the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games. We bring you the inside stories from around the globe from the people who make canoe slalom so special. Here's your host, John Gregory.
A warm welcome to our second episode of this special daily series. Thanks for joining me. We will bring you a short daily episode as we guide you on what to expect the next day at the ICF 2026 Canoe Slalom and Kayak Cross World Championships, and a recap on the last day's racing in Oklahoma City, USA. Today I'm joined by American K1 Women World Champion Rebecca Giddens and Sam Lever from Great Britain. Rebecca will be co-hosting each episode with me, while Sam Lever provides an explanation of Kayak Cross. First, I wanted to give Rebecca an opportunity to introduce herself.
Let's cast our mind back. So what do you remember from your win at Bourg Saint-Maurice back in 2002?
Yeah, that was a big deal for us. I don't know, I'm sure everybody remembers 2001, the World Championships got canceled. So that was a big bummer, and we were all ready for that race. Back in 1999, I had gotten a silver in team, and then I had an interesting situation. It was the first time video has been used, but I was awarded the silver in individual. And then about 6 hours later, found out they used video and there was a small touch. Didn't know about it, but found out about it the hard way. So I think I couldn't wait for the World Championships in Bourg Saint-Maurice. I loved that course. It's one of the harder courses, steeper, big whitewater, something I love, have a passion for. And yeah, I just had I knew if I could keep it together, keep my head in the right space, that I was capable, from previous results, knew that I was capable of doing well. And if I could just keep my mind clear and in a good headspace and not worry about what was out of my control, because previous years, things happened that were out of my control. And maybe it would happen again, but it was such a big deal, to be able to go down that course. It was a windy day, something out of my control again. And I think a lot of the athletes were super nervous about that and just kind of honing in on what I was capable of doing. And turned out it was a gold medal run, and I had no idea that was what was going to come of it, but pretty incredible, watching the last athletes come down and still see my name at the top of that list.
But being an American in Europe and being on the podium, let alone taking a win, is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. And, people never understand that, winning the Olympics is incredible. I mean, that is a dream come true. Winning the World Championships, not known to the public, but you're just competing against so many more athletes. Everyone is there. Once you get to the Olympic level, you lose some of those competitors, just because you can't bring everybody to the Olympics, but you can bring everybody to the World Championships.
Okay, so Bourg Saint-Maurice is a favorite amongst many paddlers around the world. Have you been back?
I haven't been back, and I can't wait to go back. We have a 13 and 15-year-old now, and I would love for them. We have so many friends back in Europe. I would love to go on a little tour of visiting friends and visiting whitewater courses and just going down memory lane again. But I can't believe we haven't been back. Life got super busy. We opened up a brewery pretty quickly after being done competing in 2004. Had kids a little bit after that, and just, I don't know, life took over, and I can't believe that I haven't been back.
Okay, well, 2004 wasn't any regular year. You competed in the Olympics in Athens.
Yes, 2004 was Athens. Again, I didn't do all the races that season. I stuck to 2 races to prepare myself. One of them being the Athens course. We had a World Cup there, I believe, early in the spring. It's been a while. Can't quite remember all the details. But then we had a World Cup in Prague. And that Prague World Cup, man, everybody was getting sick from the water. And lo and behold, night before the race, I got sick from the water in Prague. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. This is my last race I'm going to do before the Olympics, and I can't do it. I'm not feeling well. And then all of a sudden, that whole mind over matter game came in. And I was like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And so I remember the whole team left without me, and I went to the course and had a run down and ended up 4th place, and it was my happy 4th place. I couldn't believe that under the conditions that I was able to pull that off. And I think that was my last race going into the Olympics. But that gave me a lot of confidence that at that point my body was trained, and I just had to keep the head together. And I know how it felt to go to the Olympics from 2000, and knew all that energy all around you. You can either hone that energy in, or you can kind of let it play with your mind, right? So I felt super confident going into the 2004 games. I remember riding up that elevator into the holding ponds and just like looking at the crowd and knowing that like people came from so far to be at that race, including my family members, and my husband was there as a personal coach of mine, and just all the support to make this one run happen. And again, honing that in and just realizing it wasn't just about me made it a lot easier to go race.
Okay, so since 2004, I mean, you said that you've started a family who are growing up and running a business, but you've stayed fairly close to paddle sport and slalom.
Yeah, we chose a place to live based on an amazing whitewater river. We landed on the Kern River in Kernville, California, and it just has it was where I ended up training from 2000 until 2004. I was alone training there. That was a hard part. All the U.S. team was on the East Coast, and my husband Eric was finishing up his PhD in oceanography in San Diego, and this was the closest whitewater to where we were living. And so we did fall in love with the Kern River, and after training there, we thought, oh, well, we'll move to somewhere different. But we traveled a little bit and we're like, nope, this is definitely home. It's the best whitewater around, a really sweet little community. And then the question was, what are we going to do? How are we going to make a living in an amazing whitewater town? And it's nice to have the whitewater as your fun outlet. And as the working outlet, we realized we didn't want to open up a paddle school or a rafting company. There were enough of all of those in town already. So we kept that as our fun sports and decided randomly to open up a brewery. That makes sense.
I think they go very well together.
Yeah, Eric with his PhD. Now has a doctorate in making beer, apparently.
Yeah, which will make him more money, will be the question, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the beer.
Yeah, so Eric has kept very involved with slalom, and I think that's part of why I haven't been as involved. He's been designing the courses for the Olympics and going now on to announcing for NBC, and so he's always over there. And I've been like, oh well, I'm good. I'm happy to hang back, and I'll take care of the Ford at home and the business and the kids. And I always tease that Eric should have been the one to win the medal. Like he loves talking and getting out there and doing presentations, and I kind of just hide away.
I also asked Rebecca about paddling with the leaf bath.
Did you paddle with Lee? I'm trying to think. I just know him as Evie's dad, but yeah, I mean, for you and others, you would have paddled maybe with him. I wondered when you first met Evie.
I know Lee well from when we were young, and I believe that Evie was born, I think, close to the year that I retired. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Was she born in 2004? So we've just been fans, and Eric has met her many times, again, because of his involvement in slalom. And I've just been watching the videos from afar and admiring her from afar and just so impressed with, her drive and skill set. And I love watching her strength out there on the water. Her paddle turnover is just incredible. And she seems like she has a really good mindset.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's taken bronze in kayak cross at the 2021 Worlds.
Yeah,
I think in Bratislava, and then bronze at the Olympics in C1 women. So, but yeah, I mean, she's an incredible ambassador for paddle sport in the US.
Yeah, and I'm just thrilled that there's, someone stepping up and taking that over in the US and just showing that, yeah, we've got it. It's incredible. And she's got that drive, and it's not surprising with her dad and her mom. I know they've both been incredibly involved in helping her with this sport, and she's taken it far on her own. Incredible.
That was Rebecca Giddens, world champion in K1 women from the 2002 Worlds in Bourg-Saint-Maurice, and bronze medalist from Augsburg 2003, and Olympic silver medalist from the Athens Olympics. She represented the USA at the Olympics in Sydney and Athens. She spoke to us from Kernville, California, USA. Monday's competition sees athletes race one by one in kayak cross off the starting ramp. Kayak cross, as it is now known, became a world championship event at the Po Worlds in 2017. The kayak cross head-to-head made its debut at the Olympic as an Olympic discipline in Paris, and the time trial became a world championship medal event in Penrith last year. Next, as kayak cross individual 2025 World Cup Series champion, I asked Sam Lever to better explain kayak cross as an athlete.
As most people know, kayak cross is a four-man head-to-head physical contact competition on paper. Very different from the traditional slalom. Kayak cross time trial, that's a little bit similar to the traditional slalom, obviously just in a plastic boat, and the poles are a bit different. So I would say the time trial is a little bit less precise than your typical slalom, but head-to-head, it's just a totally different game. So the 4-man in the head-to-head, at first, when Kayak cross was initially brought in, I would say it had loads of contact. People were bumping into each other all the time. But now with the evolution of the boats, with the evolution of people's technique and how used to the boats they are and how good at the upstreams they are, Kayak cross has become more and more about speed and, individual quality, because a lot of the time in these races you're seeing people get away off the start or managing to sweep an upstream just before someone gets to them and do the race individually. And doing the race individually now, everyone has realized is definitely the fastest way. So it's become a fine balance between how much contact do I take to retain my place or to overtake or to try to stay in the race. And also, how much do I just do individually to try to keep up with the others or try to extend the lead? So it's become more of a tactical game. A lot of people's skills are on par with each other. So a lot of it comes down to decision-making, scenarios that come to you in the moment, and it happens very quickly, but it's a very, very detailed and tactical game. So I think that's how it's changed from when it was initially in. I think before, people would always catch up with each other, people would always be congested, and there would be a little bit more contact. But now, with how good people are at the senior level, I think often you're just seeing people really explosive off the start, and just getting away, closing that gap, and the winner emerges quite early on. But I have to say, I slightly prefer it when the contact still comes into play, because that was always the most fun part for me, and I always think that looks a little bit better for the cameras, and the spectators always like the boats coming together, I think.
To what extent, I mean, have you customized it, fitted it out? Tell us a bit about the boat that you're using at that level.
Yeah, so Piranha, they produce the typical sort of like plastic shell of a boat. And then if I was just to approach them and say, look, can I have a bog standard Ripper Evo 2? It would come with Piranha's fittings, which are like sort of standard fittings. They're not bad, but they're not super compact. They don't hold you in very tightly, and maybe they're not the best for forced transfer. So, and they're not the lightest either as well. That's a factor. So what we do is my current boat that I'm using, I didn't even get those fittings. I mean, Piranha just knew that I wanted the carbon fittings from TJ Composites, and that's what we use. So it's carbon fittings from TJ Composites. There's a carbon base plate on which sits a carbon seat, which is fixed to the side of the boat and locked into that base plate on the bottom. Just at the front of the cockpit, there's a metal rod which forces the base plate into place and wedges it against the hull of the boat, so that base plate sits still on the bottom. And then I've also got carbon hooker plates, so that is drilled in with 2 holes on the inside of the cockpit and 1 on the outside. So three big bolts in total to hold this hooker plate in place, and that's where my knees go. So that is on top of the sort of little knee holders that Piranha already have. Those hooker plates go in, make it feel a bit more like a slalom boat. And then once I got those carbon fittings from Piranha, I took the boat down to Lee Valley and I sort of padded it out a little to make it a bit more like a sofa when I sit in it. A nice little comfortable perch for me on the ramp.
Yeah, as I've commented before, I mean, we see kayak cross paddlers sitting on the ramp, putting their deck on and then off. What we rarely see is what's inside the boat. So, yeah, I mean, these are not off-the-shelf boats. They've been fitted out very much so that, yeah, it has the feel, as you say, of your slalom boat. Yeah,
there's loads of innovation around it. I know that some of the Swiss, it's not just TJ Composites that produce carbon fittings. I know that the Pan Am guys, the Zigzag guys, they produce carbon fittings for their boats. Some people have customized their own one and just put a slalom seat in a kayak cross boat. I mean, it's a bit more work and it's a little bit more rough and ready. But like the more professional standards is this TJ Composite stuff, the Pan Am official stuff. And also the Swiss guys. I know Manuel Munch. He puts together some really nice carbon fittings, like a carbon footplate and stuff like that, all just to make that plastic boat just feel a little bit more like a slalom boat. And slalom boat, they've been around for so long, they are the top of the top in terms of connection through your legs and stuff. And that's super important, making sure that your legs are locked in place, you're super connected to the boat, and you can sort of force it to do anything you want. That's what we're looking for, really.
That was Sam Lever. He's the 2025 World Cup Series champion in individual kayak cross. He was also the recent winner of the under-23 men's kayak in Krakow, Poland. He spoke to us from Oklahoma City. Finally, back to Rebecca, who shared a story with me about a photo from Borg, which I will post to my social media.
Well, one of my memories of 2002 was our team had no funding. And so all the athletes had to figure out, how to get over to Europe on their own. We all just piled into hotel rooms and shared too many people in a car, too many boats on top of a car. And part of that was we had no funding for jerseys, for a kit of any type. And somebody on our team had the fun idea of, let's just buy blank shirts and markers and let's make our own team uniform. And I recall showing up at the parade. And at first, one of the, they were like, you guys can't wear this. You need to put your team uniforms on. We were like, we really don't have one. And they just couldn't believe, the organizers, that the United States of America had no funding for a team uniform. But we made the best of it. And that was, you can see each of our hand-drawn uniforms on those shirts. So that was probably one of those good feelings before a race, to a good bonding experience for all of us, and just such great attitudes from our whole team. We had an incredible group of human beings that knew how to make things work.
Today, racing on the river sport course for this first day of competition at the Oklahoma City Worlds is the Kayak Cross Individual. Medals will be awarded. The race also serves as the time trial seeding the Kayak Cross head-to-head later in the week. Our reigning world champions in Kayak Cross Individual are Elena Marks from Switzerland and David Laurenti from Spain. We don't yet have any Olympic champions in Kayak Cross Individual. The World Cups provide both a test and measure of consistency. 2025 World Cup Series champions were Camille Prigent from France and Sam Lever from Great Britain. Leading the 2026 World Cup Series after the first three races are Camille Prigent from France and reigning Olympic K1 men champion Giovanni De Gennaro from Italy. Also to look out for Emma Vuitton from France and Jakub Greci from Czechia, who were the winners of the Kayak Cross Individual at the ICF race on the Oklahoma City course earlier this year. And the last boats off the ramp for the Kayak Cross Individual with bib number 1 are the Kayak Cross head-to-head world champions Angèle Huck from France and Joe Clark from Great Britain. Thanks to my guests today, Rebecca Giddens and Sam Lever. Our next episode at 6 a.m. Central Daylight Time tomorrow will preview the men's and women's kayak qualification heats before medals awarded after the team races. And throughout the Worlds, I will be updating the Canoe Slalom Analytics Google Sheet. There is a link in the show notes. There are multiple tabs covering Worlds, Olympics, World Cups, and more historical results. I'm John Gregory. Thanks for listening. If you missed the preview episode with Scott Shipley and Mike Knopp, you can go back and listen. And if you enjoy the podcast, tell other people, send them a link, like, follow, or write a review. And if you need more, keep reading Ettore Evaldi's brilliantly insightful and eloquent blog, now celebrating its 20th anniversary. Stay safe.
That's it for now, but please subscribe to the podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, and leave a review too. Until the next episode, keep it fast and clean.